Great communication skills are imperative to a great leadership. The ability to hold a natural conversation is key to succeed in the professional world. The CEO's communication style and ability sets the tone for communication throughout every department and every level of the company. Motivation, engagement, delegation, productivity, performance, valuation and reputation all start the way the CEO communicates with all those stakeholders, and this drives their perceptions of the company as a whole. Knowing when to initiate a discussion, keeping it interesting by asking effective questions, sharing your own stories and ending dialogue with kindness is an art of communication which needs to be mastered. All CEOs have to be a good communicator, and there is no doubt about that, and in fact most of them rise to that position because they have good communication skills apart from all the other skills they have. CEOs have to constantly communicate and engage in dialogue, whether it is with their employees, partners or other stakeholders. Have you ever imagined what makes them such an excellent communicator? Here are a few habits that we can learn from CEOs to become an excellent communicator. 1. Radiate confidence. Enthusiasm is infectious. An effective communication is said to happen when both parties are more comfortable with each other. You can make the other person comfortable only when you yourselves are comfortable and confident enough. 2. Be pleasant. This should be obvious, but do not ignore it. Your level of friendliness can make or break the responsiveness of the other party involved. Walk into the conversation with a big smile and open body language, and keep yourself open, receptive and smiling graciously for as much of the conversation as you can. Maintain eye contact when you can and go out of your way to show that you are interested in what they have to say. Try not to cross your arms, appear distracted or let your eyes wander. 3. Always show up with something to say. Always be on the lookout for trending information. Although it may sound contrived, read newspapers, journals to keep yourselves updated on current issues. Always look for interesting, timely information that you can share at your next meet. A party, association meeting or business affair. Think about keeping a file that you can review before your next event. 4. Start with a compliment. Compliments are the best possible way to begin a conversation. Not only do they provide a perfect opening line and a possible door for discussion, they also make the person feel good about themselves. Starting the conversation off on a positive note is crucial to keep the conversation going. Just remember, the more specific your compliment is, the better. For example, commenting that a person is well dressed is nowhere near as satisfying or flattering as saying something like, "You look great in that outfit." It's concise, sincere and specific, and now you've opened the conversational door because your partner has something to talk about. 5. Embrace small talks. Small talk is what leads the way to deeper conversation, much in the way that a car must progressively accelerate to a certain speed rather than hitting 80 miles an hour instantaneously. Small talk topics are easy to pull. You can talk about the event you're attending, comment on a food or drink item, point something out about the venue, or if you're desperate, you can talk about the weather. These could be all common experiences that anyone can relate to, so they can work for every individual. 6. Begin with a question. Questions are conversational lubricants. Pay attention as much as you can to the conversation and use them to move it forward. You should be scrutinizing the entire conversation for "tell me more" opportunities. Keep potential questions in the back of your mind. Try to be as specific and curious as possible. If you want to move from a small talk to real-time conversation, you have to look for any opportunity that leads you to change the subject. Don't try to abruptly change gears and talk about something deep or substantial. Instead, patiently wait for the opportunity to present itself. Besides showing interest in someone, one simple question can start an entire conversation. Asking something a bit unusual sets you apart from the crowd. Rather than saying, "How do you do?" ask, "How do you enjoy spending your weekends?" 7. Know your subject well. Talking about a topic that you're not familiar with is a recipe for disaster. You must thoroughly know the subject that you are talking about. It is better to understand your subject so thoroughly that you don't even need to have a written assistant with you. If you do keep note cards or something similar, make sure it's only a simple outline or key points to keep you on track. Never read a speech from paper if you can avoid it. Don't accept speaking engagements that will ask you to talk about something you don't know anything about. Even if you think you know about it, review your knowledge to get it fresh on your mind before going up on stage. By knowing your topic thoroughly, you will help avoid the risk of forgetting important information while you're speaking. You can also speak in the moment, instead of giving a crammed speech. 8. Find common ground. The surest way to build rapport is to find something you have in common and develop that interest. Never shy away from topics that have nothing to do with business. They often create the perfect connection. 9. Show interest on others. Putting your energy and interest in another person marks you as a great speaker. The art of conversation is often described as not tennis, in which you return the other fellow's serve, but golf, in which you go on hitting your own ball. Keep that back and forth volley going with conversation. 10. Listen more. Let the other person do the talking. This is another major point. If you go into a conversation and immediately begin dominating it with your own narratives, comments and explanations, the other person may immediately lose interest. Instead, try to keep the focus on them as much as possible. Using common questions is a good strategy to this end. If you find that the conversation is getting dull, or if the person simply doesn't respond well to questions being put, feel free to jump in yourself. Tell an interesting story or a personal anecdote, it may be exactly what the conversation needs to keep going. 11. Have an all-inclusive approach. Make eye contact with everyone in the group whom you are talking to and not just the person who asked you a direct question. Ignoring others in the group is a conversation killer. 12. Keep it simple. Try to keep the conversation as simple and approachable as possible. If you immediately start whining about your job or talking about what's wrong with your life, people will want to avoid you. But, if you tell a joke or a funny story, they'll be far more likely to stay. People tend to drift toward others with a positive attitude, so keep your conversational material positive. If you struggle with this, try memorizing a handful of good jokes or good stories to use when you meet new people. The key is to get over your preconceived ideas and hesitations and to embrace the reality of small talk. With a little practice and more confidence, you should have no problem starting a conversation with anybody, anywhere. 13. Speak for others to comprehend. Keep it simple and silly. Speak in a manner that is easy for others to understand unless it's a technical speech that requires a lot of precise and more complex language. Don't make things too complicated by trying to use words and phrases an average person may not immediately understand. The best public speakers are those who can make sure everyone in the audience is on the same page. They do this by speaking in a way that's simple, yet vivid enough to communicate the important takeaways. 14. Focus on the big idea. Some of the best speeches ever given have always been short and simple, focusing on big ideas. These speeches are not comprehensive, nor do they cover all of the finer aspects of every idea. Public speaking isn't the best way to communicate small, specific details anyway, so use your speech wisely to get buy-in for the bigger ideas first. The finer details can be conveyed through another means or possibly a Q&A session after the main speech. 15. Speak short. Speak specific. It is better to speak for a short time on a very specific point than to give a long talk that covers too many different topics. Don't talk about a broad subject or spread your words out too far. You will lose people's attention quickly if you deviate from your main topic. You won't be able to give your topic justice if you try to cover too much material in the same speech. The average adult can keep their attention focused on something for not more than 20 minutes, regardless of if they are interested or not. If you go too far beyond that, you will start losing the attention of the audience. Speeches should usually not exceed 20 minutes for a normal occasion. Some speeches should be much shorter, depending again on the topic you're covering. If you must give a longer speech, try to engage the audience by making them participate in the discussion. To help keep people's attention. By keeping people engaged, you will lengthen their attention spans so you can get your whole point across without the majority losing track of what you are saying halfway through the speech. 16. Conversation closes. When a conversation naturally pauses, take the opportunity and say, "It's been a pleasure talking with you. I hope our paths cross again soon." Before leaving, be sure to compliment and thank the hosts.